As Rahul Gandhi continues with his UK lecture tour, his multi-pronged attacks on the Indian government and institutions has drawn a sharp retort from the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting. In his latest address, the Congress MP claimed that opposition leaders' microphones are often switched off in Parliament in order to silence them. He was speaking at an event organised by veteran Indian origin opposition Labour Party MP Virendra Sharma in the Grand Committee room of the House of Commons complex. But back home, the government slammed him for spreading falsehoods and denigrating Indian Parliament, questioning whether his claims are based on facts or a fact-free rant.
ऐसा है ये जो चाहे राहुल गांधी जी हो कोई भी हो सुबह से रात तक सरकार को गाली देते रहते हैं, मोदी जी को गाली देते रहते हैं और जो सबसे ज्यादा बोलते हैं वही बोलते हैं कि बोलने नहीं दिया जा रहा है। आप लोग राहुल गांधी जी का जो भी वो बात करते हैं उसको क्यों इतना तूल देते हैं? वो देश के लिए कोई काम नहीं आने वाले बातें करते हैं, उसको आप चर्चा में मत लाइए। इसको
नितांत असत्य, बेबुनियाद, आधारहीन, नथिंग कैन बी मोर फॉल्स देन दिस। मैं पिछले 9 वर्षों से संसद में हूं और मैं अपने अनुभव से कह सकता हूं कि इस तरह की बात किसी से आज तक न सुनने को मुझे मिली, न मेरी जानकारी में।
In fact, the advisor to the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting put out data to suggest that while the Congress MP says he's not given any opportunity to speak, his attendance actually is not just lower than the national average of 79%, but in fact is much lower than the average attendance of other MPs from the state that he knows.
You were watching the News Hour at 10. Agenda, debate number 2 on Times Now, Super Prime Time.
Okay, joining us now is Senior Advisor in the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, Mr. Kanchan Gupta. Sir, you've decided today to take on Rahul Gandhi. But first, before we talk about specifically what you have said, Mr. Gandhi in London says that he is speaking a few hard truths in the UK, which he is not allowed to speak in India and even in Parliament. Why do you think there's such a situation where an opposition leader cannot speak his mind in his own country?
Well, that is absolutely not true. Mr. Rahul Gandhi is welcome to his flights of fancy. He is delusional when he says that he is not allowed to speak in Parliament or that the opposition is not allowed to speak in Parliament. And what I have done is that I have used data from Parliament to disprove him. You cannot be absent from Parliament. You cannot decide not to participate in parliamentary proceedings and yet claim that you are not being allowed to participate in parliamentary discussions. So the data I have presented, disproves the fact that opposition is not allowed to speak in Parliament, and it proves the fact that Mr. Rahul Gandhi is a habitual absentee from Parliament. And if you are absent from Parliament, you really cannot be participating in parliamentary proceedings.
His logic also is that even if he himself is not there, his party members are not allowed to speak. For example, a number of times when Pegasus was taken up by the opposition as a whole, not only were few of them suspended, but even their mics were switched off.
The suspensions were because they violated the code of ethics as practiced and established in Parliament. They had trooped into the well of the House. They had torn up papers. They had insulted the chair, and the chair decided to throw them out. So if they have a problem, they can always go and contest it with the chair. They cannot be squatting in the well of the House. They cannot stop other proceedings of Parliament just because they want to play the game by their rules. That is now not how it happens. Parliament has its own rules. Now look, have you seen the data I have put out, Padmaja?
Yes, absolutely.
If you have seen it, just one data set, which is attendance in Parliament. Rahul Gandhi's is an abysmal 52%. It may sound a lot, But when you compare it with the national average, which is about 80%, it is not enough for somebody who claims to be a senior leader of the party, who is projected by the party as the future of India, who squats in London and talks about larger things of life. This is not good enough attendance. Even for the state, that is the state of Kerala, which he represents in parliament, the average, I think, is 84%. So his fellow MPs from Kerala, their attendance record is 84%. Now, who are the MPs from Kerala? All of them are opposition MPs. The BJP or its allies, none of them has even are opposition alliances. And there are Congress MPs from Kerala who have been speaking in parliament. Mr. Shashi Tharoor is speaking in parliament. Every session, almost every second day or third day, he participates. So what is Mr. Gandhi trying to prove? Just because he is absent, if you have birds as pets, you will know that if the birds tend to shut their eyes and they don't believe that anything that they cannot see exists. So Mr. Rahul Gandhi is like that. Anything that he does not see does not exist. Since he does not see parliamentary proceedings, since he is absent from there, therefore it does not happen. Now that cannot be given a pass.
The last time that he did speak, he's facing breach of privilege proceedings for it. Some of his comments were also expunged, and that also has been raised by Congress as an example of how any kind of criticism of the government, when it is done inside or outside, is smothered and dissent is being silenced by the state.
He spoke for 45 minutes. It's available on YouTube. You can go through what he spoke. And a lot of it is hugely offensive, apart from the fact that it is factually incorrect. It is hugely offensive. And yet to say that dissent is not being allowed, what does he want? He has to say what he wants. You see, Padmaja, if you look at whatever he has said at Cambridge University's conference, whatever he has said in that poky little committee room of Westminster Palace, it is not the British Parliament where he spoke, let's get it straight. Whatever he said at the Hounslow gathering of Indian origin people, and whatever he has said at Chatham House, if you just look at it, every sentence of it is an untruth. And he utters this untruth with great confidence, and then he adds, it's a fact. It's a fact. Now, it is not a fact, sorry. Just because he says it, it doesn't become a fact. And the whole data set which I have presented today, whether it is his attendance in parliament, whether it is his participation in debates, or whether he's asking questions, he can ask questions. Look at the national average and look at the number of questions he has asked. And if you, of those questions, I mean, if I were to start recounting them to you, they are clearly not questions that he has drafted himself. He wouldn't know anything about the issues he has raised, about some local issue somewhere, of some water body somewhere. I'm sure, and anybody can say this, that he would not be aware of it. He could have brought in a private member's bill on this whole issue of GST. Why hasn't he done it? Others have done it.
Speaking of issues raised, he also said that with Mr. Jaishankar, he has raised the issue of China, presumably in the Parliamentary Committee on Defence, and Mr. Jaishankar was not competent enough. I roughly paraphrase his words, but he seemed to suggest that Mr. Jaishankar doesn't understand the threat that China poses.
Well, the first time he made this mention in London, he said that the External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar does not understand China. The second time he mentioned, he says that I discussed this with Mr. Jaishankar and he thought it was a ludicrous idea. I would go along with the second statement which he made. I mean, it is absurd. Now, apart from the fact, whatever is discussed in a standing committee or a select committee of Parliament, it is privileged information. It is never ever discussed outside. It is not reported outside the chambers. He has violated this principle of Parliament's functioning in India. Number two, he's talking of S. Jaishankar not getting China. S. Jaishankar has been India's longest serving ambassador to China. S. Jaishankar knows China intimately. And Rahul Gandhi, whose only passing knowledge of China is that MOU he signed with the Chinese Communist Party and the money which Chinese funds which the Rajiv Gandhi Foundation received, he has the gumption to say that S. Jaishankar does not get China. Let's get real over here.
Yesterday, the government was very upset, and a number of people in the Bharatiya Janata Party and the government spoke about how Rahul Gandhi seems to be asking for intervention from Europe and America into India's affairs or to restore its democracy. To be fair, when he spoke in Chatham House, at least, he has gone back on that, or he's elaborated on that and said, this is our internal problem. We don't want you to solve it. We just want you to be aware of what is happening to Indian democracy. You concede that
it's only when he faced the flak, and there must have been a message which was relayed to him from Delhi, that he tried to wriggle out of it in Chatham House. This is not the first time he has done it. While talking to an American think tank, and the video of that exists in the public domain, he had made a similar call on the Americans to intervene in India. So, popular memory is notoriously short, but some of us have institutional memory. And let me once again remind the Congress that Rahul Gandhi had made a similar direct call for intervention in his VC with the American think tank. So let's get this straight over here. And he thinks very lightly about it. And it's a shame, because his grandmother, Indira Gandhi, was very clear about it. She would not allow even the thought of external interference in this country to sort of, even show its head somewhere, to rear its head somewhere. And in all fairness, Jawaharlal Nehru held a similar view. And now we have Rahul Gandhi, who's taken a total departure from that position. And he says that, I'm surprised. I'm so hurt that the US and EU are doing nothing. And then he says that, no, I didn't mean it that way. What did he mean?
Finally, coupled with the Bharat Jodo Yatra, now with this 10 days that he's spending in UK, what would you as a political observer think of the Congress's strategy going into a very high voltage election season, which will culminate in the central elections in 2024?
Okay, let me answer this question in three parts quickly. One, Rahul Gandhi says all institutions have been captured by the BJP, organizations that enable a democracy have been captured. The EC has been captured, the judiciary has been captured, the parliament has been captured, everything has been captured. And therefore, poor Rahul Gandhi, like Little Red Riding Hood, is lost in the woods. Now, that is not true. look at the election which the Congress won in Himachal Pradesh. If what he was saying is true, then the Congress would not have won in Himachal Pradesh. Now what happens? The Congress wins in Himachal Pradesh, no thanks to him. And on the date of swearing in, he lands up in Shimla to bask in reflected glory. Now let's move to the second part of it. After a long time, the Congress wins 3 seats in Tripura. Rahul Gandhi doesn't even think it fit to reach out to those 3 MLAs, to congratulate them, to say that good show, next time we can do better or whatever, which is normally done. Today, the government of Meghalaya was sworn in. The BJP won only 2 seats in Meghalaya. The Prime Minister was present for the swearing in of the government. He need not have gone. After all, the BJP has only 2 seats. The time when Rahul Gandhi and Priyanka Gandhi were skiing in Gulmarg and having snow fights, Prime Minister Modi was campaigning in 3 northeastern states. It is Holi, one of the biggest festivals of India. If you do this, if you do that, if I am allowed to do this, and everything comes on a platter, and therefore only then can I win the election and democracy can be saved in India. It's at one level, it's very repulsive, Padmaja. And the only reason I responded so strongly today, and I responded as an Indian, it is very hurtful to see the Parliament of India being demeaned and denigrated in this manner from foreign soil. You criticize the government, fine. Prime Minister Modi says he is open to criticism. You want to defame the government, fine. I mean, after all, he has been doing this for such a long time. But please do not bring down the institutions of India, especially the Parliament of India, which is the living symbol of our living democracy. Why are you doing this?
Okay, well, whatever the thought, whatever the strategy is, I'm sure it's the Congress which would best be able to answer that. But for speaking your mind, thank you very much, Kanchan Gupta, for speaking to Times Now, and wish you and all our viewers again a very, very happy Holi.
Thank you.